Thank you. Hi, Alicia. You're right.
Yes, thank you.
So I wanted to ask you first, have you been to Scotland before?
No, this is my first time in Scotland.
Have you got any plans?
Lots of plans. We wandered around Edinburgh on Friday. That was lovely. And now we're going to head north tomorrow.
Oh, good luck. Where are you going north?
Inverness, St. Andrews, Isle of Skye.
Oh, I hope you enjoy it.
Yeah, it looks magical. Very lucky, those of you who live here.
Now, you've done quite a few of these Comic Cons. What keeps you coming back to events like these?
It's so nice to meet all the people, all of you. It's just such a pure, kind exchange. I really enjoy the interactions and meeting different people and hearing their stories. I like it.
I'm going to talk about your, sort of veganism and things as we go on later, but
Okay.
I wanted to go back to the beginning
Uh-huh.
and ask about, what really drew you to being an actress, to being in this industry?
Well, I don't think that I set out to be in this industry, that's for sure. I was so young. I loved acting when I was little, and it felt very therapeutic. It felt like a place where I could be a freak and have explored deep things that were going on in my life. And yeah, I would say it was the closest thing to what I understand therapy to be at that time when I was young. And so I just loved acting. I was really a theater nerd. My dad took me to, my parents are both English, and they would take me to the West End and see theater. You would go to, I think, is it Trafalgar Square? No, you're not Trafalgar
Shaftesbury
Square.
Avenue?
The one where you get all the cheap tickets.
Oh,
They have a booth. Which one?
Leicester Square.
Yeah, so at Leicester Square, you get the cheap tickets for the last-minute shows, right?
Yeah.
And we would see, production after production, and that really stuck with me for sure. So I thought I wanted to be a theater actress, but I had no idea what it really meant.
Yeah.
I was just interested in it, but then it turned into a job.
Of course. And the thing is about a job like this, I've got a lot of friends in this industry who are front-facing, and fame is always a byproduct, or sometimes a byproduct of what you do. Were you comfortable with that? Because you were quite young, in Clueless and things like that, and your name started to rise. How did you feel about that aspect of being an actress?
I didn't like it at all.
Yeah.
I really did not know that being an actor meant you would be famous. Now, I think today everyone knows that, but I didn't know that then. There was no sort of, I feel like with today's age, young people know what it is to be famous. They know what it is to, how there's more of a path laid out that says this is, if you want to be an actor, here's what you would do. But with that comes also, I think, a sort of grabbing at something that's not necessarily substantial. Because anytime a young person tells me they want to be famous, it freaks me out. Mm-hmm. Because that doesn't feel like that's rooted in anything but insecurity, and we all have to go through those periods. But what I was lucky enough to have was I really just loved acting. So I didn't have any expectations. Unfortunately, though, fortunately, whatever, when all this great stuff started happening for me, I had no idea what was going on or what to do about it.
Sure.
And I wasn't surrounded by people who also knew what to do about it. So I just sort of rejected a lot of it and went away and found my love for animals and my love for the earth and got invested in other things that kept me grounded. And then one day, I was a lot older and went, wait a second, I still love acting. What happened? I think I got to go back and figure that out again. So I sort of started all over again in a way. But I do really love acting, and I know now that I can do both, and I can enjoy both worlds. But when I was young, it was really, really a lot.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
I can imagine. And that's a good point you make. It's about chasing something tangible, like doing a good job instead of pure fame.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. I completely agree. I'm going to talk about Clueless. Any Clueless fans here? I hope so, or it'd be a very strange panel. Thank you. I wanted to ask, because there's a lot of love for that film, obviously, as you know. When did you realize, when you're filming, you don't realize how big something's going to be and the impact it'll have culturally as well. When was the point that you realized, wait a minute, something's happening here? Was there a kind of light bulb moment?
I think 10 years ago. No, I had no idea. I was just doing another movie, and I really enjoyed making that film. It was stressful, though, because I had done 9 films before Clueless, and they were back to back. So I was a tired little person. And so when I did Clueless, I was sort of, exhausted. And I remember crying to the producers, begging for a day to myself, and then me being very dramatic, saying, this is supposed to be a comedy, and why is it so serious? And I was just so upset because I was so tired, and I was in every scene. Paul Rudd and Justin and all those guys, Donald Faison, they came in and out. They'd have holiday. They all lived together, hung out together, had so much fun. They'd come in and out here and there, and I was there day in, day out. So when they'd come, I was like, but I loved the part.
Yeah.
It was so much fun. I had no idea. And even I remember when the movie came out, I was in New York City doing a press tour for the film. And I think I knew we were on to something when Scott Rudin called me on the telephone. And he told me how well the movie, I think it made, this is so silly, but it made like $16 million at the box office in the first weekend. Something like that. And that was unheard of. And it was especially unheard of because Clueless was rejected by Fox Studios. So we were supposed to do it at Fox first. But they said, this is a genre that is, first of all, young people. No one wants to see a movie about young people. Second of all, with a female lead. Ugh, how boring. So they ditched it. And it wasn't until Scott Rudin picked it back up and took it to Paramount that everyone took it seriously again. And obviously we started a new, young people movies became popular again. But for a while, that was not a thing at all. They were taking a big risk. So when they made that much money in the first weekend, it was a shock to everyone.
It's crazy how much things have changed. You hear those attitudes. It's mad.
Yeah.
And that's not that long ago. That's not that long ago at all. Now, sometimes I ask my guests this. I have a podcast called Real Imagined Futures, where we imagine what happened to famous movie characters after their stories ended, where they would go next. We had Sean Gunn from Guardians of the Galaxy on the. Do you know who Sean Gunn is? Guardians of the Galaxy, a few nodding heads. He chose the film Clueless. Oh. He said it was one of his favorite films. Aww. Now, we all thought that Cher would go off and become like an Oprah figure. She'd get into blogging real early and get on the internet game real early, because obviously the time. But I wanted to ask you, when those credits rolled, where did she go next? Where do you think she went after?
Well, it's really fun to imagine. I think ultimately Cher, by the end of the film, has the message of the movie is that she found her peace in herself. So I think her materialism changes a bit. Her love with Josh allows her to see the bigger picture, to care about the earth. So I'd like to think she became a very conscious person dedicated to helping people and dedicated to, doing the right thing and perhaps being plant-based for the better of our planet and for our bodies and for the animals. I think that it's hard to imagine. Maybe she, unless they broke up, the downside is if they broke up and she just went back to her shallow ways. But let's think that she found her. I think she found a good place where her heart is very rooted in who she is, because she always cares a lot. That's the fun thing about the characters, that she's so silly, but she's also really loves her friends, loves her dad. She's always trying to do the right thing.
I was going to say, she's not as shallow as you think. She's actually very kind. There's some layers there.
Yeah.
There's definitely layers which makes her interesting, which is why I think people love her, you know. That was a good segue. Thank you very much, Alicia. We're professionals, you guys. We're going to talk about the positive aspects of fame and notoriety and what comes with that. You have a YouTube channel now. You've got books and things. The positive aspect of fame is you get to talk about motherhood, veganism, sustainability, plant-based things. Let's start with veganism. I wanted to ask, what are the most common things people tell you as to why they cannot be a vegan? Because I hear things sometimes like, I can't live without meat, or it's too expensive. Like, what are you hearing, and how would you bust those myths?
Well, I think the first thing to say is that the reason I went on this journey was because I loved animals so much. And when I was a little girl, I rescued a dog named Samson. And he was like my boyfriend. He slept with me. We kissed all the time. This was my buddy. And I was about 18, I think, or something, or maybe 17. I met him I was doing a film called True Crime. And he had been hit by a car, and he was part pit bull. And I knew he was going to get put to sleep if he went to the pound. Anyway, the point is, through my love of this dog, I started to I'd be petting him, and I would think, what's the difference between his leg and a cow's leg or a pig's leg or a chicken's leg? And that started to really freak me out. And then I was actually in England with my mom when I was really little, and I heard the crying. I heard a lot of crying in the countryside, and it was explained to me that was the mothers crying for their babies because the babies have been taken away because they're milk cows, and then they're going to go become veal. And all of this awareness just really freaked me out, the truth of what's going on. And so I wanted to look at myself in the mirror and be able to say, I'm doing good for animals, because my mom was an animal lover who ate animals, and I was an animal lover who ate animals until I stopped. And I just didn't want to be that anymore. A person who only is kind to dogs, but ignores the fact that all the other animals have the same capacity for joy and love, and they don't want to be punched in the face, and they're funny and whatever. So what happened to me when I made this change is my whole body changed. I used to have an asthma inhaler twice a day. I had to take that allergy shots twice a week. I would get bronchitis 3 or 4 times a year. I was a little regular mess, right? And when I went vegan, all of that went away. And I never needed a doctor again, except when I got my leg ripped open. Then I had to have it sewed up. But other than that, I just didn't need it anymore. My body started to heal itself. So then I started to understand, wow, there's something to this. Not only am I making a choice that aligns with my principles, but it's actually healing me. I'm no longer sick. And that was incredibly powerful for me to realize how much food matters in our lives. And then also there's the environment that we need to be concerned about. And 9 million people die a year of hunger because we feed their food to animals. It's just so inefficient use of resources, right? So then I saw that Bruce Lee was vegan, and all these really cool, now there's MMA fighters who are vegan too. But, people who had quadruple bypass surgery turn vegan, then they're healed forever. So there was just so much to it. Anyway, so I wrote a book called The Kind Diet, going into really wonderful medical studies that show why this is such a good way for us to live for yourself. So even if it's just for selfish reasons, just to have the best life you can. The things that people always say to me is I couldn't give up cheese, or I couldn't stop eating meat. And really my answer to that is just do it the most you can, do the best you can.
Yeah.
I think starting by reading a book and getting really informed, my book's pretty good, The Kind Diet. If you read that, or you could listen to my podcast, The Real Heal, where we really look at what is it going to take to heal ourselves, our earth, our communities. We're exploring what it really will take. I love the podcast, talking to really beautiful experts. And so ultimately the book, the podcast, my website, even on my social media, I just try to show how easy it can be, how delicious it is, because I am a food snob, okay? No deprivation over here. I love to eat. I like to eat good food. I don't want to eat it if it's not great. And so I have figured out how to do that, and it's not hard. And I think that's the thing. When I went vegan, I thought, I'm Jewish, by the way, by, my birth or whatever. But I went like this. I crossed myself, thinking that I was never going to have a good meal again because I was going vegan. And that was not the truth. The food has only gotten better and better and better because there's so much more variety and options when you start looking at spices. And I learned about daikon and umeboshi plums and umeboshi plum vinegar, things that probably sound insane to you. They did to me back then, but they're so delicious. So anyway, it's been the greatest thing I ever did in my whole life, and I wish I could take my little girl self and say, come here, this is how you want to eat. It's going to make you feel better, look better, all that.
But it's good to know that you've got these other outlets as well, especially, and not just one thing, in this way you can be creative in another way, podcasts, books, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
You talk about being healthy on the inside as well. Sure, lots of people can relate to mental health struggles and things. It's nice that we can talk more about that openly now, because when I was growing up, we didn't. I wanted to ask if there's one tip you could give for building a good foundation and building better mental health. One tip. What would that one tip be?
I hope I can get it to one tip. Again, I would go back to food. What I notice is that if I don't eat well, let's say I eat a bunch of sugar and even a bunch of dairy or white flour or something like that, my energy level changes dramatically and my mood shifts. And I can feel it from meal to meal. So I love to eat fun things and explore, and I'm not perfect. So out here, some days I'm going to have things that I don't want to have, like dairy and things like that, or sugar. But when I'm home, I'm really, really good about it. And the difference, I feel, is extraordinary. And it's in your mood. It's how it affects your brain. And so I would say that the most efficient thing you can do is change your diet so that you feel grounded and well. Because even in my son, and when you watch children, when you have a little person and you watch them grow, if we're putting food in them that doesn't make them feel good, we're just shoving sausages and French fries and sugar and dairy and ice cream into their bodies while we think we're doing something nice, it's so uncomfortable for their bodies, so they're just always in distress. And that's what makes them like, ah! My son never had a terrible 2 or a terrible 3. He was just a really solid, grounded kid. He had breast milk. He had avocado and tofu and greens. He started having greens really early. All the things, the broccoli, the peas, the bok choy, the kale. His favorite food was kale until probably yesterday. So feeding them with good food allows their brains to develop differently. And it's just a better, they're more grounded, they rest well, they sleep well. Because when we go to bed, if anyone wants to test this, if you go to bed after having a lot of complicated food, your sleep is not as good. You don't wake up as rested. Maybe you had to get up to pee all night. Maybe you needed to drink water all night. You're just not going to feel rested. Maybe you have some nightmares. But when you sleep, when you eat really well and then go to bed, and your body has time to sort everything out, and it's not stressed out. And that's the same for children. So my point is when you get rest, when you sleep properly and get the rest you need, that is the best foundation. And then on top of it, I know I'm only supposed to pick one, but I think a really good, I know that it's not as taboo anymore, but therapy is a wonderful thing. And if it's not affordable to have a one-on-one, I know there are amazing group therapy and things like that. Being able to be in touch with yourself. I think so many people are so anxious now. And I grew up in a household that felt very anxious, so it repels me. And I hate when I feel people's buzzing. It's like, it makes me so sad for them. And everyone is buzzing, whether it's the coffee they were drinking or the food they were eating. They're just not grounded. And I want people to experience the joy of having solid experience of life where everything is good. We're so lucky to be alive, and we're so lucky to have what we have. And when you just connect with your heart and your tummy, it's just good. And so that's what I think. I think being able to go inside and talk about these things and we all come from trauma, so working that trauma out is a critical thing.
Thank you, Alicia.
Yeah.
Now, before I ask my final question, I want you all, if you've got questions, that is, there's a little mic in the middle. Oh, we've got, yeah, get up. Please don't be shy. Please come straight up. I'm going to ask one last question, and then we'll hand it over to the floor. As many of you as possible, we'll try and get through you.
Okay.
Okay, final question. Thank you, Alicia,
you.
so far, and sharing all your knowledge as well.
Thank
Thank you. Future projects. Where can we see you next, or what are you up to next?
So I mentioned the podcast, The Real Heel. I'm always on my Instagram and on all the social places. TikTok's a fun place to play. But my films, I have a bunch of films that just came out that I'm really proud of. The Requiem, Last Survivor, Babysitter's Club, American Woman is a little bit older, but it's so good. And I just finished a film with Benicio del Toro and Justin Timberlake, and that will come out next year. And a bunch of art films, Killing of a Sacred Deer, The Lodge.
So you're busy.
I've been so busy.
You're basically busy.
I'm so busy.
You're a busy lady. Thank you very much, Alicia.
Thank you.
Can we give Alicia a round of applause for this first part of the panel?
Thank you.
Thank you very much, you guys. Hello, people in the corners. Hello. I like that. Not everyone waves back, but some people did. Hi. Okay, my love, please come straight up to the mic. What is your name and what is your question?
Hi, I'm Poppy.
Hi, Poppy.
And my question is, I'm an aspiring actor, and have you got any advice to getting started, especially when you're from a small town and got no connections or anything like that?
Yeah. So when I started, I was also, it wasn't I don't know what you consider a small town, but I was in San Francisco. And there wasn't really a lot going on there, but there was a woman who would come to town. So if you can find a good acting class and just keep acting and ask them to help, because that acting teacher will help you find other contacts, and you just keep studying, because it's in the studying, right, that you'll see if you love it. Because if you don't love doing it, ultimately, it's not going to work out. If you love it, that's great. So you want to do theater and plays. Nothing's better than doing plays.
I just did Titanic.
The play at Titanic?
Oh, wow.
Oh, that's interesting. That's great. Congratulations.
Cool.
Well,
Thank you.
Yeah, so I think theater, plays, acting class, just keep going and just keep asking. And I have no doubt that you're not going to figure it out. You're committed.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Poppy. Thank you very much. Oh, yeah, thanks. Give Poppy a round of applause. That's very, you're all very nice. Thank you. Okay, my love, name and question.
Hi, I'm Faye, and I'm a really big Aerosmith fan. So I know that you've been obviously in a few of their videos back in the 90s. How different is it doing a music video than it is doing a film, apart from obviously the time it takes to film it?
Yeah, they actually let you work like 23 hours straight when you're doing I remember that's the thing that came to mind first, is we were just there forever, never ending. But it's just was so much fun. Marty Callner, the director of those videos, did something really original, because prior to the Aerosmith video, women in music videos were in bikinis bopping around, right? And this was a video about a girl who was pretty badass. And so he was making a mini movie, and that was unusual for videos at the time. So anyway, he and I are still friends. He's a lovely man, and I liked doing those videos a lot because I got to play with him, and we were both very creative together, so it was just a good time.
That's great. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
you.
Faye. Thank you. Hello, friend. What is your name and what is your question?
My name's Freya,
Hello.
and my question for you is, I'm a big Clueless fan and I absolutely love you, and my question is, are you still in contact with Paul Rudd, and how did you find being on set with him?
Okay, let me start with being on set with him. He was perfectly lovely on set. And like I said, I was so serious because I was there all the time. So I didn't get to be very playful with any of them. I didn't become friends with any of them while we were shooting. They all were having a ball. They weren't working. They were just having fun. But I was exhausted from all those movies. I had been in with James Gandolfini in Le Nouveau Monde in a film in France, and Hideaway, and The Babysitter, and just back-to-back movie from The Crush till I got to Clueless. So I was really exhausted. So I didn't make friends with any of them. And I remember being annoyed because they wanted us to hang out together. And I was like, I'm an actress. I don't need to hang out with them to pretend like I'm friends with them. I'm fine. It'll be fine. But then afterwards, Paul and I did become good friends. And over the years, he's such a lovely, lovely guy. And when we did it, my first Comic-Con ever was with him in Chicago. And we spent so much time together, and it was so lovely because it was all these years later, we share something so special that we can't even understand, right? Because it's been years since that happened. 27 years, maybe longer. And so it was really nice to sit across. We had dinner and we talked, and it was just really nice. And I would say that we are in contact, and Donald Faison and I text each other every once in a while. He's so cute and funny. But we all went out dancing that night. Brecken, Paul, me, and Donald went crazy that night. It was so fun.
Thank you, Freya.
Thank you.
Thank you. Straight up. What's your name and what's your question?
My name is Henry.
Hi.
I don't care what anyone says. I love Batman and Robin. It's my first Batman film. I love it. If there was to be a sequel at the time, what would you have liked it to have been? Is there a villain you'd have liked to have gone up against? What would you like to have done if there was going to be another one afterwards?
Good question.
It's a really good question, and I'm totally going to disappoint you right now, and I'm sorry. I don't know much about Batman or any is it Marvel?
It's DC.
What is it?
DC.
DC? Don't even know. I couldn't even tell you what the difference is. Do you know the difference?
Yes.
Okay. Well, someone will tell me later what the difference is.
I got you, Alicia. I got you. We'll speak later.
But so I don't know the characters very well. I imagine as my son grows older, I'll start to learn them. When I did Batman and Robin, I thought I was playing Catwoman in my mind before I started, because I'd seen the one with Michelle Pfeiffer, and I was like, she's amazing. So when they asked me to do Batgirl, I was like, oh, like her? Like, just so stupid. And remember, I was 18, and I guess I haven't changed much because I still don't know very much about it. I didn't know who Aerosmith was, by the way, when they asked me to do the video. I didn't know. Luckily, my manager did. So anyway, the point is, what villain? I have no idea. Do you have a good idea of what I should have fought against?
Yeah, what would you choose?
I'd like to see you go up against Scarecrow.
Who?
Oh,
Scarecrow.
Scarecrow.
Cillian Murphy plays him in the later one. I think Nicolas Cage was rumored to play him if there was going to be a sequel.
Well, now I'm going to have to watch because I don't know who Scarecrow is.
He's a pretty cool villain.
He's a
If I was
cool-
going to see you, that'd
Okay.
be a pretty good one.
Well, let's make that. That sounds fun.
I'm an aspiring writer. I can write it for you if you
Do
want.
it.
Thank you, my friends. Thank you. Great question. Hello there. What's your name and what's your question?
I'm Amy. I have two quick questions. I was just wondering, because I'm Tate Langdon from American Horror Story, I thought, how did you find doing American Horror Stories?
Again, who's Tate London?
It's from American Horror Story.
It's a character from that?
Yeah,
Oh,
I
that's
just
so
thought
cool.
because you might know, because American Horror Story.
You look amazing.
Thank you.
I can't watch them. They're too scary for me. I tried. When they asked me to do the show, I thought I better try and watch one.
Yeah.
But I saw like Dylan McDermott or something with a stabbing a woman, and I was just like, turning it off. And then there was one at a lake. I know we did the lake, but there was another one at a lake, and they were camping, and it was so scary to me, the idea, that I just turned it off. So, but I loved shooting it. It was so much fun to shoot. I felt really happy to be a part of that group, and I love Ryan Murphy, and just the writers, the director, she was so wonderful. There were so many women on set. It was really fun, and I love the girl playing my daughter, Olivia, and I hurt my knee trying to save her, so I'm bummed about that. But but I had a really good time. It was all the actors on that were so good, and I really enjoyed it.
I just have a second one. Did you keep anything from the Clueless set? I was just curious about that.
Well, I remember taking a lot of the clothes because I became attached to them while we were shooting. But the second I got home with them, I thought, how am I going to wear this in real life? Now this doesn't even make any sense. These Mary Janes, and I'll just be walking around looking like the characters. So I gave them all away. So I don't know where they are.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Now, we've only got time for 2 more, so everyone behind Pink Blazer Lady will have to sit down, I'm afraid. Although you look really cute. Oh my goodness, your outfit's amazing. You look amazing. I'm sorry. But Alicia's here all day, so if you want to go meet her, please, you can ask a question.
Yeah, come ask me at the booth.
Straight up, what is your name? What's your question, my dear?
Hi, I'm Taylor, and I was wondering, me and my mom are both vegetarian and vegan.
Nice.
We're wondering if you had any favorite dishes or snacks.
Ooh, that's
question.
a great question. Thank you for being veggie. I really, really deeply appreciate it. That's so good. You're not going to have any acne when you get older. You're going to be good. What are my favorite dishes? Well, in my book, I have all my favorite recipes. There's these crostini that I make with really delicious pesto. And I use all the veggies in my garden to make these things. It's my favorite. And then mushrooms, and it's sort of like artichokes, mushrooms, and pesto on crostini with leeks. It's insane. That's my favorite party food. Or if it's like a ball game, some kind of sporty thing, my cheesy oozy guacamole dip is pretty incredible. And I love making these things called raw balls. My son doesn't like them as much as I do, but they're delicious, and they're like carob and walnut and almondy, just healthy, yummy snack. The peanut butter cups are insane in the book. Tons of stuff. But you can go on my Instagram, and you can also see the things we're cooking up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey.
When you said that, Bear was going,
Yeah, he doesn't like them.
He's like, nope. One
But
last question.
He liked him when I brought him to school. He just doesn't like him when I make it at home.
Okay, last question. Lovely lady here. Okay.
Hi, my name's Skylar, and my favourite movie of yours is The Crush. I'm just wondering what's the favourite movie that you've filmed?
Oh, The Crush. That's old school. Okay, go for it.
The Crush was my first movie, and I loved that was so exciting. It was my first movie that I got, and so it meant so much to me to get that job. And it was incredible to be shooting that. I was 15. I turned 16 on set. It was so amazing, that experience. I don't know how to pick a favorite. I've done a lot of Broadway plays, and that has been so incredible. Working with David Mamet in, I did Boston Marriage, and then I did, what's the other one called? I can't remember the name of the other play. But Time Stands Still with Donald Margulies and Daniel Sullivan. So my theater experiences, but I like all of the. American Woman is one of my favorites. Requin, I don't know that everybody loved it as much as, I wanted it to be a little bit better, but I think it was the effects that did that, and it was really had the potential to be amazing, and I love that filmmaker so much, and I'm so very proud of that film, Last Survivors. I hope this Reptile with Benicio turns out well. I don't know. It's hard to pick.
Thank you. That's it. Sorry, that's the last question, my dear. I'm sorry. We're on strict. But can we have a round of applause for everyone who asked a question? Because you guys make it, as I always say. So thank you very much. We're going to say goodbye to Alicia just in a second, and then we're going to do a stage selfie. So when we do that, I want everyone to go crazy. Okay. Well, I'll prompt you. Alicia, you've been absolutely wonderful, and I hope you've enjoyed your time here.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing all your insights about your projects now.
Thank you.
Thank you. Guys, give on up for the one and only, it's Alicia Silverstone.